What's good, y'all? It's Lucky Luch here. Welcome back to my room and my YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm a little under the weather, but my goal was to change my life through uploading to YouTube every Tuesday, so the show must go on. And what I want to talk about today is reading. Reading became fun for me in 2025, and it's something that I want to continue doing in 2026. So I'm going to do a story time real quick, and then I'm going to go over the 3 steps that I took to get back into reading and a couple books that made reading fun for me. So when I was moving back to New York from LA, I was thinking about how I live uptown. To get to Manhattan, to get to the other outer boroughs, my train rides, my travel time was going to be increased because I take a lot of public transit. Sometimes I'm on the bus, but about 90% of my travel is through the train. So most of the time, my ETA is going to be like 30, 45 minutes. And so I was like, I need something else besides music and podcasts to get me through this. This was definitely influenced by that, but the second part is, I think, influenced by this resurgence of physical media, and books are obviously included in physical media. And I'm not really big into podcasts anyway. I listen to a lot of music and I do songwriting, but that clearly wasn't enough. So I was thinking back to when was reading fun? And I think back through most of my 20s, and I did read a few self-help books, but I wouldn't calculate that as fun reading. Self-help books are great, but I feel like once you read 2 or 3 of them, you've kind of read them all. And I think it's great to a certain point. Yes, you get the steps necessary to learn about things and succeed, but eventually you have to apply those to your life. And I think most of self-help stuff comes from just experience, learning to succeed, learning to fail, learning to grow through adversity and things like that. I've read some self-help books and they only got me so far. I read some non-fiction works and, that was definitely cool, but I feel like I needed something more. So then I thought even further back to when I was in college and I had reread Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Actually, I have a copy right here because after college, I purchased this copy here. I put a bunch of notes in it. Yeah, there's a bunch of notes written down and stuff. Because at this point, I had read this book 3 times. I really enjoyed it every time. And I feel like I got to identify more stuff the more that I read it. And so when my friend went to go read it, they saw the notes and stuff and they were like, yo, it was a good idea you put notes in there because, there's so much stuff happening in this story. It's hard to keep up at times. So that was really cool. And then I thought further back into high school where I took a science fiction and fantasy class where it was the first time I read Slaughterhouse-Five, as well as books like Brave New World. I believe Fahrenheit 451 was part of the curriculum as well. Yeah, even though I was in high school, I took this class because I knew it was going to be cool. It was a random elective, and I think that was a time when reading was the most fun for me because these books were imaginative. They were sci-fi. They were dystopian. They had weird elements to them and I really enjoyed it. And I didn't think, anything of it at the time. And I also thought to times where I've dated girls that really loved reading. So I think that was maybe a small factor. But the fact that I wanted to get back into the hobby, the fact that I wanted to kill some more time during my travel, I thought reading was the best way to go about this. I'm somewhere in downtown Manhattan. I'm walking around the area and it was a beautiful summer day. And I just noticed everybody was reading on the train, right? It get all crowded and people are stretching to get at all these angles to get in another page. I see people reading in the park. I see people reading in public. And so I take out my phone, I go on TikTok, and I post a video saying something along the lines of, hey, I wanted to get back into reading sci-fi books. Do you have any recommendations? I got maybe 10 comments. And so I go to the bookstore, I'm reading those, and that's when I kind of made up my rules about if a book can't fit in my bag, then it's X'd out because I need something to get into my bag so I can read, right? I can't get a big book. One of the books that got suggested that fell in this example was Children of Time. I'm sure the story is great, but that book was this thick, and I'm nah, that's not gonna work for me. Wound up choosing a couple books, both books that I was interested in and both books that were on the comment section of my video. And next thing I know, in 2025, I read about 8 books. And for me, that was a good amount. And I was also just proud of myself because it was the first time where I was reading just to read. I would get to points in certain books and I was like, I'm one stop away. Can I fit in another page, or can I fit in another chapter? I don't know. I'm now telling my friends and my family and my siblings about, hey, you should check out this book, or da 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 da. When I was getting my tattoo done, I was chatting with my tattoo artist and both the manager of the shop, talking about this book that I read called Upgrade, because it was so freaking good. So a couple of the steps that I took here to get back into reading for fun: one, identifying the genre that I wanted to read; two, thinking back to a time where reading was fun and using that to help me; and then three was asking for help. I feel like we don't do that enough. I feel like as a man, I shouldn't ask anybody for help. But you know what? Sometimes I'm trying to get back into something, or I don't know what I'm doing. It's always great to ask for help. I'll repeat that one more time. Think back to a time where it was fun, figure out the genre, ask for help. All right. Now I want to talk about two books that made reading fun for me. Fun for me again, actually. Now, I mentioned Slaughterhouse-Five. That's a book that I read 3 times. That's not going to be part of this list, though I do highly recommend it. But here, I want to talk about a series that I've probably haven't talked about much on YouTube, but definitely a lot on TikTok, and that's Red Rising. Now, I did say I was only going to talk about 2 books, and I have to talk about this book in the middle, Golden Sun. Golden Sun, the second book in the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. I mean, I am so happy that somebody recommended the Red Rising series to me in that comment. Because I read the first book, and I was really excited. And at first, I wasn't really sure about it through the first 100 pages. And then after that, it kind of picks up, and I wound up liking the book. And I like the book so much, I don't know, if we're going to go back to my scale, right, I'm going to use the movie scale for this as well. I thought this was good, going on to very good. Because, first 100 pages, like I said before, I wasn't really too sure about it. And then it really starts to build up the world, or build out the world. You get introduced to a lot of characters. There's a lot of action, some betrayal and stuff going on. And I'm like, And then the ending is good. It's a good, solid ending, but also it leaves you wanting to know what happens next. So I thought this book was good enough to the point where I want to explore the sequel, if you will, right? Where I wanted to see where it was going. And though the third book in this series, Morning Star, is also very good, this was absolutely fantastic, y'all. I'm not the biggest fan of our protagonist, Darrow. Like, he's not like a bad person or anything. As a protagonist, I don't necessarily relate to him, but I love the cast of characters around him. I love the villains in these books. I love the friendships in these books, and I kind of worry about them sometimes, right? The fact that I care for them this much, I haven't cared about this much of a group of characters since Game of Thrones, all right? You kind of assume that Darrow is going to be okay. He's going to find a way out because he is the main character. These first 3 books are told through his point of view. So Mustang and Pax and Ragnar and Roke, like, I am worried about their stability throughout these books because you never know what's going to happen to them. And I think that's what makes Red Rising so good. It's not necessarily the main character, but everybody surrounding him really makes this story go. You really learn to care about these characters. And this book, y'all, operates at a crazy pace. Like, it picks, there's like a bit of a time gap, and then it catches you up a little bit, and then it just goes, dude. Like, there's just so much violence, betrayal, and backstabbing, and mystery, and the ending of this book is absolutely insane. I was awe. I was in awe at the end of this book. There's some great fight scenes in this book. Like, the stakes are high, and it just moves, y'all. It's so much fun. Like, this book is so captivating. There was points where I wanted to stop reading because I was angry. I was like, something happens to one of my favorite characters. I want to throw this book on the ground. I want to throw it across the room. Then there's some parts of this book that are so freaking good. You just want to pump up and like flex and go like, Yeah, the Red Rising series, well, these first 3 books anyway, made reading fun. But Golden Sun was absolutely incredible. And it really made reading fun for me again. I'm 100%. If you're ever on the fence about reading Red Rising, at least read the first book, check out the second book, and if you don't like it by then I totally understand. But I think Golden Sun is really awesome, and it's worth it. Totally, totally, totally worth it. The first book I read by Blake Crouch was Upgrade. I believe I read that right before Red Rising. I liked Upgrade a lot. It was a page turner, and it overall was a really good sci-fi book, but it didn't really affect me emotionally, but I did enjoy the read. It was a very fun book to read. And then people were telling me to read Dark Matter. People were telling me to read Recursion. I have Recursion. It's on the goal for 2026, but I read Dark Matter in 2025. There's a guy on here who's a Colts fan who's big on book talk. I'll leave his stuff somewhere, but he had this in his top 5 of sci-fi books, and I'm like, you know what? I've heard a lot of good things. I know there's the Apple TV series, so I gotta check this book out. Not only is this equally as cool as Upgrade was, but this book had an emotional factor to me that I really, really loved. And that's why it was so fun for me. Also, it was like a little bit shorter of a read and fairly like easy to read, I'd say. And it made it, once again, like the subject of this video, very enjoyable, very fun for me. If you look at this book from the surface level, it definitely puts up like choice, fate, and destiny all against each other, right? And this book explores all that. And if you ever thought to yourself like, hey, what if I like stayed in that relationship? What if I chose a different career? What if I chose a different path? And you had a chance to explore that. Would you want to explore that? Would you want to go back to the life that you already built because you're content with that? What if you can see a different outcome from the choices you made? This book explores that, right? And that's just a very surface level view of this book, which it's totally fine if you just see that as is. But what I see here when I dig below that is a story about love and determination. Our main character, Jason, gets lost in these realities, and he's trying to return back to his life because he loves the life that he built regardless of what other crap is out there. He also has a son, right? So that also makes it very complicated. So he has a wife, he has a kid, he has a house, and he just loves the life that he built for himself, and he wants to get back there. But there's also all these other realities out there, and no matter what, man, I really think the power of love, the power of family, is what keeps Jason from giving up. It's what keeps Jason focused on his mission to get back to his family. I just thought this book was really, really, really incredible. Some people are iffy about the ending. Some people are iffy about like the science and some of the decision making by Jason in this movie. So I feel like it falls to a category of either you love it or you don't like it. There's kind of no middle ground that I've seen, which is perfectly okay. I'm of the people that think this book is great, and I just kind of explained why. Dark Matter was just another fun read, and once again, Blake Crouch and Pierce Brown, their books really made reading fun for me again. So yeah, I'm going to leave the video here. These are a couple books that I read in 2025 that were really fun and made reading fun for me again. Hey, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what books you enjoyed last year. What books do you plan on reading this year? My name is Lucky Luch. I post on this channel every Tuesday. I kind of talk about whatever I want. Watches, books, movies, whatever. So, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, see what's up, and we'll talk soon. I'll see you later. Peace.